What if you could achieve financial freedom, secure your family's future, and grow your wealth, all while staying true to your faith? Well, today's guest, Robin Gonzalez of WeGrowCredit.com, a husband of 15 years, a financial expert, has helped hundreds of families rebuild their credit and unlock new opportunities securing the bag. So in this episode, he's going to share with you some tips on how to control your money, how to invest your money, and actually build lasting wealth and set your family up for success. So peace and blessings, Robin. How's it going, brother?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here. Blessed to be here. It's an honor. Thank you for the invite, brother.
Nah, thank you for coming on the Men of Valor Husbands of Purpose podcast. You're a husband of purpose, and you know I know that what you got, I know your understanding, your wisdom is going to benefit those who are here right now. So, Robin, you've helped hundreds of families achieve financial freedom. For husbands listening right now, what's the first step they can take today to start building wealth and securing their family's future?
I would say the first thing is identify your why. Why do you do what you do? What is the big picture? Where do you see yourself in the future, right? Identify your why. Develop that passion. Um, I always say have a game plan, know exactly where you want to go, and then work backwards from there. If you see where you want to go requires um, certain obstacles to be conquered. For example, the ultimate goal is you want to buy a house, right? But you see that one of the factors to buy your home is they're going to check your credit. Now you go and check your credit and see where the issues are. That is where you need to start because before you get to the home, you got to start at the basement, right? So this is why credit is so essential in this country. Everything revolves around credit. Um, so knowing exactly what is affecting your credit, I would say is the first step. Identifying what's going on so that you can move forward.
And what's the number one mistake, that you see families making when it comes to their credit or their finances? And what's the best way to fix it?
The number one mistake I see people do is not knowing what's going on in their credit, right? So um, and that's a countrywide issue. Why? Because this is something we were never taught in school. It's almost like we had to learn as we go, right? This is not education that was taught to us when we were younger. It's almost like you have to go seek that information. So sometimes we start applying for stuff, not understanding of what's going on in your credit score or your credit report, right? So they offer features of, you could go to myfreecreditscore.com, pull your credit report for free. That's great. But sometimes we don't even know what we're looking for or how to read it, right? So I would definitely say educate yourself, right? There's a lot of information. We are in a society of where you can just, at a click of a button, look up and search whatever it is that you need information on, right? So that's the good thing. The bad thing is there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of bad information out there, right? We got too many choices, too many things to. So definitely hiring a professional if that is something you want to tackle, right? But you can fix your credit for free if you know what to look for. First thing is definitely pull your credit report, see if there's any negative items that are affecting you. Maybe you have some information in that doesn't even match your personal information. Um, Not sure if you know this, but the majority of Americans have been affected by identity theft in the last 5 years, right? There's been hacks, data breaches have been at an all-time high. So you definitely want to be mindful of what's going on in your credit profile and make sure everything belongs to you. Make sure all the information in there is accurate because chances are there might be some information that doesn't belong to you.
And when you say like going to looking at your credit report, I've looked at mine. I look at
Mhm.
mine every now and again, and it is real confusing. Like a lot of us, when we get it, we just look at the numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, we just look at the numbers, focus on the numbers. But when it comes down to it, when it looks into detail, it be so much. So It's like you're advising people to, in some sense, they can do it by themselves. But I know
Yeah.
personally, when I was working on my credit, I hired a company. I hired someone to go do it because, like, it's a lot to learn and it's a lot of misinformation out there. And what is the biggest um, myths or biggest things that, when it comes to misinformation that you see that you got to debunk when people come to you?
That just because you have a high credit score, it means automatic approval. That's not true because what lenders and bankers look at more than the score itself is actually your profile, your body of work. So your payment history, right, makes up 35% of how they determine your score. The balances that you carry on your credit cards make up 30% of your score, right? The history that you have with your credit, when was what's the year or the oldest credit card that you have, right? The history of of your cards or the accounts that you have matter because that determines the trust or the experience that you have already dealing with credit, right? So this is how the lenders look at your report, and also, the types of credit you have. So there's two major types that we can call that the lenders really look at. It's either revolving credit or installment credit. So revolving is like your credit cards, right? The balances could change every month. Or installment, which could be a car loan or a personal loan, where you have a set amount, a set payment amount every month, right? So it's good to have both types. You got to have a variety, right? So the mix, all these factors matter, right? And that is what they'll look at to determine what your score is going to be. So I'm saying that to say you can have a perfect, 750 score or 800 credit score, but just have one account, right? That doesn't mean you'll get approved just because of the score. They actually need to see that you've had some type of credit history and something they can go off to develop that trust in order to, give you this loan that you're applying for. Because when you're going for that mortgage house, that mortgage loan or that house or that car loan or that, you're essentially asking them for money. They need to trust that you're going to pay that money back. That's why credit is important.
Brief interruption, real quick. If you listen to this and you like what you're hearing, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button below. Therefore, you're notified whenever we have another Men of Valor, Husbands of Purpose podcast. Also, you can share it out if you find this episode valuable. And fellas, if you're looking to have a deeper relationship with your wife, cultivate more conversations, more intimacy, download our free video guide. It's in the descriptions below, or you can just go to connectionconversations.com, download our free video guide, and start getting more intimate with your wife and just really build that bond, build that friendship, build that love. Go to connectionconversations.com, or you can just click the link in the description. Peace and blessings. Back to the episode. Now, how does someone, let's say, have a 550 credit score? How can they rebuild their credit? Like if their funds, their monthly income, their funds is limited and they know that they messed up when they was younger, they got some credit card debt. What can they do right now to start, to start building that 550 up to get to 600, 700? What can they do?
So I would first identify, what's holding that score down, right? Do you have collections on it? Do you have late payments? Do you have excessive inquiries? What's affecting that? Are your balances high, right? First, identify what the problem is, right? Then you can actually contact each credit bureau or credit reporting agency um, and ask for them to verify if this information is accurate, right? So you can challenge what's going on in your credit profile, right? But if you have no negative items, right, and your score is that low, chances are your balances are probably pretty high on your existing cards. So one thing that can help boost your score naturally is bringing down those balances to, rule of thumb is usually under 30%, but you want to bring it to under 10%. What do I mean? Let's say you have $1,000 credit card, right? And your balances, you went shopping for Christmas. This is the time of year where everybody comes into the new year with the max, everything maxed out because they're gifting everybody. They just go all out and forget that,
It
that could
got to be
affect.
paid back. It got to be paid back within the next month. And splurged
Exactly.
out.
You got 30 days to pay all these back. What you want to do is bring that balance, that $1,000 limit, you want to have it at under $300, right? Or even under 100, or even to zero if you can, right before your due date, right? So that when it reports to the to the credit reporting agencies, um, it'll give you a nice boost on your credit score just by paying those balances and keeping them down. Again, if you have collections that are affecting you, you can definitely submit a dispute on your own. You can follow exactly the blueprint that Experian will show you, TransUnion will show you, Equifax will show you. Again, they give you the blueprint. However, so most people don't have the time to dispute back and forth because it's time sensitive. Um, when you're using the law, because there's consumer laws set in place to protect the consumer from these credit reporting agencies reporting inaccurate information on us, right? But using those same laws, the credit reporting agencies have 30 to 45 days to respond to your dispute. So what happens between those 30 to 45 days? Life be life, and sometimes you forget, you don't know when to respond. Sometimes if they respond that is accurate or verified, you think it's over and you just give up, and it's a frustrating process. So this is where Grow Your Credit was born, right? We knew that there was a need to simplify this process, right? To bring convenience to people.
And how did you get into it? Because like you say, it's already tedious. I've looked into it before, and I had to hire a company. Like, how did you get into it? How did you get into it and make that your calling? That was your purpose.
I had bad credit myself, right? I had bad credit myself. And being from New York, where, time moves at a different speed, we never really have time to sit and understand how to do these things on our own. So I went and hired a company like yourself, right? But what happened is I was left in the dark. I didn't understand what was happening. I just gave my money away, and I felt like nothing was being done. I felt like I was at the mercy of this company because I didn't understand it myself, but I didn't have time to understand it. I needed to keep moving. So then COVID-19 hits, and now we're all shut down, right? And now we're all forced to be still. And it was this time that I used to reevaluate my life and what I wanted and what I needed. And I decided to go into learning how to do this myself. And in doing so, I figured out what works. And then I made it work for myself. And I realized it wasn't that hard. It is tedious, but if you're somebody that's organized and disciplined in following instructions on how to do it, it can be done. And it's a life-changing experience, right? It opened a lot of doors for me. So I realized, you know what? Let me see if this works for my family. So I just started helping my family. I was using them as like projects, like tests as we were still, shut down, couldn't do anything. I was using this as a way to create another skill, right? And it was a skill that was impacting them in a way that was satisfying me, where it's like I was so excited to see that burden come off of them because it's like, yo, how did you do this? I
Mm,
can't believe it. And it was like, you don't know what you just did for me. This thing been haunting me for years. How did you remove an inquiry? An inquiry stays on your credit report for 2 years if you do nothing. I was able to do it in 2 months. I was able to move collections that were following my sister for 7 years.
wow.
You understand that sometimes you just give up and you're like, all right, I'm gonna just wait for it to fall off. You think that the credit could fix itself. No. And it was certain codes. certain pieces of knowledge that I acquired that was like, yo, but if I just do this, this, and this, and it was working. My cousin fixed my mom's credit, who was in the 500s forever. She didn't know about credit. I'm the firstborn American. She's an immigrant. She coming from a country where they didn't operate on credit. You know what I mean? We were taught in my culture that credit is bad, right?
Well,
Like
well, real quick, what culture? What country?
I'm from Dominican Republic.
Okay, that's where my wife family from.
Really?
Santa Domingo over there.
Yes, the capital. Okay. Yes, man.
Yeah. But
Salute. Yes.
yeah,
So,
so you took your problem and turned it into purpose. So you took it
yes,
and started learning and testing out on everyone that you knew basically and building up those testimonials and
yes,
getting the job done for them.
yes. And that's exactly what it was. I turned a problem and I found a solution, right? And in my community, um, that was everybody's problem, especially during that time, because now most people didn't know that they were essential workers, right? Until that pandemic happened, right? Where you've been working at a job for X amount of years, and from one day to the next, you're gone. We don't need you anymore, right? These were the type of so now you're forced to use your reserves, your credit cards, just to stay afloat. So everybody's credit was, everybody was damaging their credit at that time because we didn't know what was happening. We didn't know what the next day was gonna bring. So I took that as an opportunity, right? Like that time period became where it was a curse for most. It was really a blessing for me and my family in that time. I was able to really focus and laser focus on a scale that could help many people. That's what it really was. It was the satisfaction of being able to rescue people from those chains. Because credit in this country becomes chains that follow you and can hurt your ability to obtain the things you really want and you work hard for. Like imagine having a full-time job and getting paid good money, yet you have bad credit. Nothing can open. You have all your cash heavy. Yet you can't go buy that house with all this cash because they want to see your credit. Can't go get this car because they want to see your credit. Like credit is essential here. So
And so for someone that's going through that do have this cash money coming in, but their credit is jacked up, one of the best things they can do is they can do it by themselves,
yeah,
but I would say, hey,
I
go
agree.
holler at grow your credit, go holler at
I agree.
growyourcredit.com, you know.
Sure,
And
sure.
and this is before I met you. Like people ask me and talk to me. I said, listen, you want to go learn that? You take all the time, go learn that, go write them letters yourself. If you miss one letter, you jacked up. If you call
Yep,
them on the phone and say the wrong thing, you
yep.
jacked up right then and there. So you know what? Listen, just go hire, just pay the money and hire a company and do it. That way you ain't got to deal with the headache. Let the company deal with the headache and let them get you straight.
I agree. I agree. It removes the stress, the headache, right? Um, and find a company that's reputable, that has results, that has testimonies, right? Look at their body of work. And that's what I prided myself on. Before I even took a dollar from anyone, I was just gathering testimonies. I was gathering the proof because people like to see their visual. Oh, you did that to them? Yeah, they're just like you. They're in the same situation as you. Let me see your credit profile. Oh my God, I've got experience with this. This same person had the same thing. And you build a community of trust through that, right? So great credit is my pride and joy, man. I can't believe I was able to use this to, fire my boss, man. I fired my boss, moved my family from the craziness of New York to now living in Florida.
How was that transition right there? So once you started getting the clientele up, that's when you said you're gonna move to Florida. Like, what was that transition like to move your whole family to not just one state away, about like 8 to 10 states away, all the way down?
I'm talking about down south for sure. And it wasn't an easy transition because if you would have told me 4 years ago I was moving to Florida, I'd tell you you're crazy. I'm a New Yorker forever. There's nothing outside of New York. Everything is country to me outside of New York. That's how I thought, right? But again, the pandemic changed everything. My perspective, I was able to see life from a different lens. I've got two daughters, right? And I saw how the city was shifting, and I was like, this is not a place to raise my kids. I got to make a decision. Um, Being able to work my business where I can travel wherever and still work my business from online gave me the freedom to make a choice like this. Now, this only became an opportunity because a friend of mine presented it to me at the time. There was an open door for me to step on, and it was a big decision for me because my entire family was in New York. Not only just my family, I'm talking about my mom, my aunts, everybody is there. I would be the first one to make a drastic move like this if I was to make it. And there was a lot of prayer involved. I really took a leap of faith. It was a brave faith move that I took in taking this leap and coming down here into the unknown because I had no family out here. This was essentially new land that we would be tapping into. And before I even made that decision, I had to have a family meeting. I have a wife and three beautiful kids, two daughters and a son. And we all sat down and I had to make sure that they were all okay with this move we were going to make. And until I got that last yes, I wasn't going to make a move. But before I even finished my sentence, they were all like, Dad, we ready to go. I'm like, oh, okay.
You
That
must
made it.
be, hey, you must be a good salesman. How did you get them for some New Yorkers to say, hey, we going to Florida? Not just one New Yorker, just a whole group of them.
Yeah, yeah. So I first brought my kids down to visit my good childhood friend of mine that was already living down here, and he's got the big house with the pool and everything. So I brought him first, and I was just like, letting them enjoy themselves and giving them perspective. We were walking around. This was before I even presented the idea. I was already in my mind. I was like, "All right, let me just see how they adapt to these things. Like, how would you feel about waking up to palm trees every day? How would you like it? This was the weather all year round, right? Like, putting all those things together. So when it came time for that meeting, now I was tapping into their psyche where it's like, listen, this is where we are now. This is what's happening here. But this is what you can have, right? This is what remember when you told me how you felt when you were there? It was a feeling. You got to sell the feeling of change, right? So they can be ready for it. And, you know, my biggest hurdle was presenting it to my wife though, because my wife was already an established business in New York. She ran a daycare, um, and her at that time her business was still growing. And when this opportunity presented itself, I was like, man, if I take this leap, that means she's gonna have to close her business and sacrifice that move to come with me. I don't know how she would feel about it. And glory to God, that woman, I think she was waiting for this move for years. She was just waiting on me. Like I told her, I want to do such and such. And she said, honey, I'll close the business tomorrow if we can go. You just give me the word. I said, wow, God, I guess this is the sign that I gotta take this leap. And it's exactly how I went. I came down here, I spent the month out here to set up shop and everything while she was up there boxing everything up. She was like a soldier, man. She put everything on the truck. She was ready to come down and glory to God, man, it's been 3 years, 3.5 years since that move. And we never learned, we never looked back.
Now it sounds like faith is a big part of your journey. How has faith help you push through the challenges in business, in marriage, and just in life, just transitioning from New York to Florida and also transitioning from one business to having your own business?
When I was in New York, I was a believer, but I wasn't a follower, right? I didn't have a church I went to. I really wasn't, into the Bible like that. I was still in the ways of the world. It wasn't until I made that leap where I really stood out on faith. Because my wife was always big on faith. Her faith is huge, man. Sometimes when I didn't even understand it, like, how are you so faithful? Like, why? I didn't understand. And when I made this move and I saw what God did for us in our life, in my life, how I can physically see the changes not only in myself but my children. and the opportunities and the people that he's brought around us. Like there's moves that we've made that I don't know how we made it to the other side. And faith was always alive in us. It was always alive. And it wasn't until I got here that I really started becoming a follower. I converted my life to Christ um, back in June of 2022 on my 39th birthday with my wife in the church that we go to here. And
When you say you went down in that water,
I went down in that
you
water.
got you got baptized.
Man, the most amazing feeling in the world, man. Like I couldn't even describe that feeling that I had. Um, it's almost like I went down with my eyes closed and I felt like my eyes were still open and I could see that clear water over my head just washing me, cleansing me. And when I came up, I was light as a feather, man. And then to see my wife do it right behind me and have my kids there see that was a significant moment in my family. And we've been walking in faith ever since, man. To have opportunities like this, to be on your podcast. This is faith right here. I don't even feel like I'm worthy of this, to be honest. With all the past guests you had, Coach Tony Kimball and Coach Akita and Chaz, like those are amazing, man. And I was looking at those podcasts and I'm like, man, these men are doing incredible things. And then for you to reach out to me and it was just like, is this even real? So I'm telling you, this is an honor, and what we this encounter right here is not by accident. Complete faith. I hope I'm the first episode of 2025 for you.
You are, and you know what? You're starting off 2025 with talking about, building credit,
Yeah,
building money. Not just that, just faith. You're a man of faith. So, glory to the Father that, nothing happens by coincidence. It says time and chance happen to all people. And it was a time and a chance right now for us to link together and bring this out, and so I love it. The faith, the finances, the family. And I want to jump back into some finances before we go more depth into faith. Let's
so.
go, let's talk about student loans because that's one thing that you can't bankrupt. That's one thing you can't really get out of. Tell us something. How can people get out? Because that's what's plaguing our people. Because some people they can have good credit, right? And be caught up on their bills, but they still owe 20, 30, 40, $50,000 in student loan debt from Sally Mae and all these other people.
Yep, yep, yep. So student loans, again, that's something is like taxes, man. That thing gonna follow us to death. But one thing I can tell you about student loans, the majority of people that have student loans, I don't advise them to remove it. Why? Because chances are that's probably the oldest account that you have on your profile. If it doesn't have any negative payments, let's say, you've been forbearing it all this time, kicking it down the road, kicking it down. They're counting it as positive payments on your credit. It's actually helping you. It's actually solidifying your credit a little more because it's adding accounts, it's adding positive payments, it's adding age, right? Age is important. So most people that have student loans on their credit profile, it's not really affecting you. However, they can be removed, but you will not be excused from the debt, right?
What what do you mean they can be removed, but you won't be excused from the debt? How does that work?
There's consumer laws set in place. Well, for example, there's a system called Metro 2, right? So Metro 2 is a software that communicates with the credit bureau's machines because everything is run by AI. Don't think that these three credit bureaus can handle millions of credit reports with physical people. No, you're going against computers, right? So there's a software that can communicate with these computers. And if there's even one missed code or one missed payment or something that's off, you can fight that and have that dispute, have it completely removed from your credit profile where it's not reporting, it's not showing anymore. However, that doesn't mean that, Sally Mae or the government still not will not come after you for that payment. It's just it won't reflect on your credit report because by law, it, believe it or not, the consumer can control what's being reported in their credit profile. Because one misconception, this is one big one that I want people to understand. The credit, like Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, they are not government entities. They are regular companies, right? So they're not the what throws people off is when they say credit bureaus. It's not really a bureau. It's a credit reporting agency, right? So these are regular companies that are in the stock market. So you have regular companies controlling millions of people's information, right? But then there's consumer law set in place that says that 100% of everybody's credit profile is supposed to be 100% accurate. Yes, statistics show 8 out of 10 people are walking around with errors inside of the credit profile that are affecting them. So that clearly tells us there's a flaw in the system, right? So there's strategies that we use that attack that flaw to get these negative accounts to be removed if they cannot be verified, because it's got to be verifiable. Now, let's say, most times student loans are usually debt that's being bought and sold through different companies. Like you might have started with Sally Mae, but you end up with a third party company that you really don't even know because you haven't paid student loans in years. You don't even know, your forbearance. So those little technical errors throughout the years of the debt being bought and sold, chances are there's an error that happened in there. And if we identify that error, we can definitely get it removed from your credit profile.
Now, you just said something about forbearing. You said some people's, if they hadn't paid it, it's
Yeah.
forbearing. What
Yeah.
is that, and what happens when that student loan is forbearing and
So
stipulations?
yeah, so they'll give you a period where they'll put your loan like on a freeze, and they'll put it on the back end where you don't have to pay for a certain period of time, right? You got to get approved by the company for that. So if you show that, you're going through financial hardship, you lost your job, or you can prove that you can't pay this, they'll put a freeze on your loan, right? Like they'll forbear it, and they'll just tack on the interest of the time that you weren't able to pay, and they'll put it on the back end of that loan, right? It doesn't mean you don't owe the loan anymore. They're just putting a freeze on it, right? And they'll give you a forbearance for X amount of time. Let's say it's 20 months, 24 months, 3 years, whatever that agreement is with you and that lender.
And that means they wouldn't have to pay it for that time. It still
Exactly.
affects their credit, but they don't have
Yeah.
to pay it for that time until once it's get out of forbearing. And can a person call them and say, "Hey, I want to get this out of forbearing and start making payments again"?
100%. They're hoping for that, of course. Yeah, that's what they want. So you can definitely, it's all the arrangement that you have with that specific lender, right? So you'll call Sally Mae up and say, listen, I want to work towards paying this debt down because the longer you forbear it, the more you accumulate in interest that you got to pay. So that $20,000 loan, at the end, you're paying 40 and 50, right? Because you're stretching it out. But in between, they're still tacking on that interest on it. So it's a double-edged sword on that. I definitely recommend, paying that debt off as soon as possible. Many people were waiting for this administration to, forgive a lot of these student loans, and they have, right? But not nearly what they promised.
And some people had to catch it. Like you
Yeah,
had to catch it when they was doing it. You had to catch it. If you
yeah,
missed it like one day or something like that, it's like, oh, it was over with.
exactly,
And
exactly.
the thing is, because a lot of people hear things like, oh, they're gonna do this, they're gonna clear this debt up, they're gonna clear the student loan up, and sometimes they get into that he say, she say, and then by the time you find that it's true, by the time that some people find out was true, it was too late.
Yeah, yeah. You got to be right on it. We forget that we got to take action. We think it's going to happen for us, but we really got to be we got to be intentional with that type of information and be on top of it. And most people aren't, man. So that's the unfortunate part where, it should be something that, is a press of a button and it cleans everything because everything's digital anyway, right? But some of these things, they make it really hard for people to understand and read the fine print. So unfortunately, that's where we are. Most people that did receive it were uh, that I know of were like public school teachers or anybody that's in the education field. They were forgiving a lot of those loans if you met certain criteria. Um, but again, they would mail some stuff out and then it would like be paused. So once that pause came, everybody forgot about it, right? And then that's it. Like we don't talk about it anymore. But it's definitely, I'll say 80% of the people that we have as clients definitely have student loans.
All right, and speaking of that you have as clients, someone's listening right now, they want to start rebuilding their credit, they want to clean their credit up, they need help with their student loans. How can they find you?
Okay.
How can they find you and what exactly all do you do?
Yeah, for sure. It's easy. You can definitely find us on wegrowyourcredit.com. In that website, you'll see a link where it says sign up, right? And it's a quick registration form where we gather, simple information, your name, your phone number, and your email. Then it'll prompt you to sign up to a credit monitoring service because it's important to understand that although most people use Credit Karma, right? Because it's a free app, it only offers the basic information on your TransUnion and Equifax. However, to get a proper analysis, because we will provide you with a personalized credit analysis where we break down what's affecting your credit, um, you know, what steps we will take to restore your credit, and then the steps to get started. We'll even provide a personalized, detailed uh, video breakdown of your credit profile to help you understand how to read your profile at the same time. All of this for free, just by signing into that link on our website, wegrowyourcredit.com. And then it's simple. It's a simple sign up when you sign up to our credit monitoring service, less than 2 minutes. Put in your information, and we'll be able to see all three credit profiles at the same time and create that analysis for you. So I get that you guys like looking at Credit Karma, but that's not an accurate description of your credit profile because they're really a marketing app. They're not a credit monitoring app. So they give you just enough to be able to market these credit cards to you, but you want to have a detailed credit profile report. And signing up to our credit monitoring service will provide that for you. And we will give you a personalized credit analysis with a video breakdown. This is more than most companies will offer you, just to get you to understand because we like to educate throughout the process.
So what's the website again and where they find you on Instagram so you can get them right?
Yeah, our website is wegrowyourcredit.com, or you can follow us on Instagram at Grow Your Credit. Go right into our bio, hit that link tree, and you'll see the link on where you can sign up to make it easy.
So y'all heard that, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna link all the links in the description. So therefore they can just click on it and go right to your pages and sign up. So how can men manage their finances in a way that honors God and provides for their family?
Mm. Being honest, being honest with yourself, being honest with your situation, being honest with your spouse, and praying. Again, it's not easy, but it's simple, right? As a man, you got to hold yourself accountable to understand what are you lacking and where's your weaknesses, identifying that, having that communication with your spouse. Sometimes as men, as leaders of the household and controlling the money, sometimes we fall into some situations where we don't want to express that to the wife because it may feel like we're not in control of what we're doing. I believe that's a big problem right there because two minds are better than one, right? Um, it's a lot to juggle, is not easy managing both. The balance is hard. We're always striving for that balance, but um, I believe when you keep God in the center of everything that you do, when it comes to money, right? When it comes to um, your household, when it comes to your finances, keep God at the center. Definitely tithe, right? Definitely be organized with every dollar that comes in. Um, there's times as an entrepreneur where, you're really walking by faith because you can't see the security sometimes, right? So you got to honor the process and trust that he's going to lead you the right way. So you don't want to mismanage what he's blessing you with, because then you can't be blessed with more if you can't handle what you have now.
Do you have a favorite scripture when it comes to finances?
Um, to be honest, nah, man. I really don't. I really don't. Not on the top of my head. Is there something you think of when you think about finance?
Tithing.
Yeah.
Because I think about that because that's the only scripture where the Most High says, try me, test me. Like, it's like, you know, that's the only scripture that says, try me, test me, do this, give me the 10, and I'll open up the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing that you
Mm,
can't even receive.
mm,
So that's one of my favorite scriptures when it comes to money, finances,
yeah.
and just really getting into the habit of continuously doing that. And sometimes it's been hard in life, and some pretty sure other people can relate to it when you're trying to pay these bills and do this and do that, and other people get caught up, and you feel like you can't tithe. But that's where that trust and that faith comes in. Like, well, I ain't got enough to pay this, but let me pay this tithe. Let
Yeah.
me trust in him, give this 10%, and let me trust in him, like he says, he will deliver the rest to me, all my needs, all my desires.
You know what helped me with that? Understanding that this is all his anyway. It's all his anyway. So prioritize him. Let him be the first 10%. Don't worry about the bills. Sometimes we leave ourselves to the very end and put everything before us except God. Well, so think about this. Put him first, then put yourself second, then all the bills, right? Because you deserve a 10% as well that you should put away for a rainy day for your family. So you've got to control how you distribute and manage your finances. And I think when you put him first, again, this is all his anyway. Like, God, this is, without you, I wouldn't even have this $100. Why can't I give you 10? It's yours.
And then
So
when you look at it in the whole scheme of things, I think it comes to a place when people are getting a lump sum of money at once and looking at it like that. But if you just think about it, like if we was just getting it like on the hour or whatever, like okay, someone getting paid $30, $30 an hour. So that's $3. Let me just put $3 to the side right there. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? But it's like when people get the check, that large sum, it's like, hold on, this
yeah,
$3,000 I gotta give up 300.
sure.
But in
Most people,
actuality, it was really it's 10 cent off the
yeah.
dollar. So that's what it is. It really gets to people and that part of it.
And tithing isn't just money though. Tithing can be your time
True.
for him, the dedication of just undivided attention for him, because he longs for a relationship with you. Some of us let, the hustle and bustle of every day take up all 24 hours in our mind without even tapping in with him. So tithing can be time too for him to heal your heart or, give you clarity of where he wants you to go. So, it's not just a monetary thing for me either.
That 10%, you're right, When I say husband of purpose, what comes to mind?
Um, Intentionality, being intentional with your marriage, um, nurturing, understanding, and comprehension. Because it's not just communication; you got to understand each other. So when I hear husband of purpose, that's what I hear.
I like that the fact you said comprehension. It
Mm-hmm.
reminded me of school. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like you hear that in like comprehension. And when I say reminded me of school, it makes me think like in order for you to comprehend something in school, you had to study. You had to listen, you had to study, you had to be aware. So, oh, we gotta listen, we gotta study our wives, listen and study our children to be able to understand them.
You got to understand, she's not the same person I met 15 years ago. We're going through seasons, we're growing together. And just to give some clarity, um, we're technically married only 7, but I knew we've been together for 15. Now, what does that mean? It took me 8 years to understand that this is the woman that God has for me. It took me
Mm,
years of studying her. 8 years of her studying me, right? She came from a prior marriage. I came from a prior relationship where it brought a daughter, and she had a daughter, and now we created a son. I'm part of a blended family. That's a whole different dynamic. So it takes a lot of communication, but really understanding the process, understanding where she is in her journey, where I am. I'm about 5 years older than she is, so our perspectives are different, but we have to find that common ground, right? So we continue to grow. We continue to grow every day. We're learning every day. Like I've been blessed to have her as our head of operations. Like she's working with me, my partner. Like not only is she my wife, but we're building this together as a family. And that takes a level of really understanding each other and being in each other's space at all time, but embracing that and still having love and still having that affection, without the outside noise impacting us at all, because our foundation is solid. Those 8 years that it took me to really study her and all the ups and downs we went through made me propose to her and say yes so easy. And this marriage, this journey has been like we still on a honeymoon. And
glory to the Father for that. And people, if you're listening right now, to have a blended family is one thing. Me and my wife are a blended family. I came in with 3 children. She didn't have none. We got 2 together. She accepted my older 3 like they
yes,
was hers. Being a
yes,
blended family is one thing. Also, when you working with your spouse, you in business with your spouse, that's another level of commitment. That takes
yeah,
another level of understanding, another level of grace, another level of mercy, another level of patience.
yeah, yep,
That's real talk right there.
yeah, man. And I'm super blessed, man, because uh, I know I'm not easy to deal with at times, especially being a business owner and this being your baby and you want things done a certain way and you kind of forget. There's times where you'll slip up and forget to you know uh, differentiate the boss and the husband on the same level, and it's like um, there's times where we definitely would have to take a break, pray on it, come back and regroup and you know attack the task at hand. Sometimes I would attack the person, and I had to learn to attack the problem, not the person. Right? Attack the problem. Let's attack the problem together. Let's identify the problem, my love, and let's attack them. Let's not go at each other because this is not going to separate us. This is just fruit of our labor, but our real purpose is raising our family. This the unity that we have here is what's really important. This is extra. So let's fix what's going on here so that we can conquer this together. And that's something that, I pride on um, always tapping into with her because, we can easily get caught up in those things if your foundation of your heart isn't in the right place. So that huddle in the morning is very important. That prayer in the morning, very important because we got to know that we're going after the same goal.
That's what it is, a purposeful partnership. Now, Robin, you've helped so many families financially. What legacy do you hope to leave for your kids and the people you've helped?
I'm kingdom building, man. I'm humbly just really want to leave a legacy to my children to understand that, God is the real legacy you should chase. The kingdom, this is temporary. This life we're here is temporary, but how did I make you feel when I was around you? Did I make you feel like a better person? Like, did I make you feel like, there was more to life than where you are? Like, I want to impact. There's impact over income all the time, and I want to be an impact in your life and in your heart, even when I'm not around you. So that's the only legacy I really want to leave behind is how did I make you feel when I was around you? And then after that is, just want to be sitting on the right hand of God.
All right. If you could leave husbands one key piece of advice about money, faith, family, or leadership, what would it be?
Be true to yourself. Be true to yourself. I mean, carry yourself as a high value man with valor. Just this is the purpose of this podcast right here. A man with strength, courage, passion, loyalty, obedience to God's word, willingness to take a stand when needed. Okay, um, compassion, respect, empowerment, collaboration, excellence carries like all these values of a man. Um, Keep that first, and then you will impact those around you. How you do anything is how you do everything. So be satisfied, be happy with the man in the mirror, and everything else will fall right into place.
Robin, thanks for sharing your story. Your wisdom today was phenomenal. You dropped some jewels on finances, on faith, on family. We enjoyed having you on, and we want the people to listen that's listening right now, brothers. If you're listening right now, remember, financial freedom isn't just about money. It's about creating security, building trust, and leading your family in life, love, faith, family, and purpose. And together we lead. Peace and blessings, men of valor, husbands of purpose.